Here on Screen Sport, a night or two back, or Berthold, a 27-year-old, an inspirational kind of player, and if ever the Germans needed inspiration, now's the time.
I mentioned earlier that the service was a particularly important aspect of the game, and in Berthold they have one of the best servers in the World League, really. Perhaps that's overstating it, but he's certainly in the top 10. And he served very well, very steadily and consistently, and kept Holland under pressure in the previous game we saw on Screen Sport. Let's hope he can reproduce it from the Germans' point of view in any case.
Depania finding those wide open spaces again. A lot of holes appearing in the German defense at the moment.
And that's always a problem. When you're facing a deficit, you try to throw players up into the attack. You'll position men, stack them against the net, and leave gaps at the back. Delnit's finding a hole at the back of the Cuban defense there.
Well, this proves you don't need power, you just need to know where to put it. There's the big hitting Rene Hecht. Poor serve and the inevitable result put away by Lazaro Marin. Marin has got quite a troublesome serve when it comes off. Let's just take a look at it. Didn't come off on that occasion, but if it had done, it would have been virtually unplayable.
Commentator's curse, I think, Nick.
I'm very good at that. He's not playing, is he?
Che Guevara.
Che Guevara.
If only. Backcourt power again. As we saw in the previous game, we saw the Dutch demonstrate very well how you need power throughout the court, not just at the net, but in the backcourt as well. And certainly at this level, and the Cubans demonstrating exactly that.
Well, the Cubans really starting to turn up the heat a little bit here on the Germans in this third set. Still only just the 2 points in it, but the Germans are just rushing around like chickens without their heads at the moment.
They've certainly lost the composure, haven't they?
Yeah, there we see it once again, another point, and I think a timeout is in order here for the Germans. They need to regroup. There's the finish applied by Hernandez, the blocker. And so it's 3 points the lead, and indeed timeout has been called. We're going to take a timeout as well. You're watching the World Volleyball League on Screen Sport. So as the Germans attempt to regroup after the timeout, they trail by 2 sets to love. Depania serving with Cuba leading in this third set, 9-6 as well. Nick Halling along with Eddie Cash. And Eddie, things starting to look a little bit grim for the Germans here.
They are indeed. The Cubans really seem to have found the stride now. They're a bit uncertain in the first set. Slight improvement in the second, and well, things are getting better and better. They're looking more of the Cuba of old. Whether they'll duplicate the success of last year, I don't know. The World League looks altogether a stronger setup than it did a year ago. I mean, there are 12 teams now, of course, $3 million in prize money to be won. And the Cubans did very well last year, going down only to Italy in the final game and coming away with the silver medal. But they have stern opposition.
Well, the question I've got really, Eddie, is who can beat the Italians? I mean, they have to be the favourites. Who do you see as possible upset makers?
Well, obviously, we're looking at one of them, the team that pushed them so hard last year, Cuba. Whether they can reach the same level that they did last year, I don't know. They're certainly not looking themselves at the moment, but of course there's room for improvement, and really what counts is when you get into the next phase of the competition. The CIS will be interesting. Obviously, they've kept most of their best players from a year ago when they were campaigning as the Soviet Union, and they're always going to be strong. The United States, again, they'll go through to the next phase. I'm quite sure about that, but whether they can actually pull off a victory, I don't know. They've lost a lot of their best players to the beach volleyball setup nowadays. I like the Netherlands, I must say. We saw them the other day against Germany. I don't think it was one of their greatest games, but they showed strength in depth, and I do expect them to progress all the way and could even win it. The other team I rather like, and these are darker horses really, and that's Brazil.
Sure.
I think we'll be seeing them later on in the series, so I expect great things of Brazil. They haven't been one of the greats in recent years, but they're always there or thereabouts, and I think they're going to do well this year.
Well, while we digressed on the World League's bigger picture, Cuba have continued to dominate this third set, although a brief flicker of hope there after the smash from René Hecht for the Germans, but really nothing that we've seen in the last couple of minutes to indicate anything other than a 3-set victory for the Cubans, unless the Germans turn things around very quickly indeed.
And what Hernandez there was doing is telling his teammates, whoever receives the ball, we can't quite see at the moment, it's off camera, but whoever receives it is telling them exactly what he wants. That's a medium high. Didn't quite come off. He wanted a medium high ball, which you could just set very quickly with a spike to drive one down the middle. Didn't come off. Not in the way he expected the first time in any case. Franco coming back on. It's Demand coming off.
One of the 20-year-olds playing on this German team, Klaus Demand, getting valuable experience here at the very highest level.
Smashes against the tape.
They're prepared to take chances with their serves. The Cubans, as we see another switch, Kleinberg replacing Holtzig. We've seen that switch made a couple of times in this game. As I said, Eddie, they're prepared to take chances with their serves when you're 2 sets to love up and lead the third set. Exactly.
Can afford to. But I think it's an aspect of the Cuban game. It's one of their main features that they do mix it up. They like to play with a lot of flair. They don't see themselves as this kind of destructive machine as, for example, the CIS are, who are very, very well trained and well drilled. The Cubans get out there and have a good game, and one feels that they're actually enjoying their volleyball. There's a lot of variety in the plays, a lot of imagination goes into them, and they play with a sense of adventure. And that's what makes Cuba an attractive world volleyball team.
Marine with service.
Tipped over. Got it back in.
Both teams really lucky to get away with that. They both made mistakes. And at the end, well, it had to be finished with a mistake, really, that rally.
It was an unforced error. Yeah, unforced completely. The kind of mistake that Germany cannot afford to make at this stage.
They're tired, Eddie. I think that's the reality. They had the big high of 2 nights ago when they won that 5-set thriller, and they've given it a good shot for much of this game, but they're tiring.
And they're facing defeat in the face, but Berthold produces the kind of spike that he'd like to see a bit more of. Had a nice ball set for him and jammed it away. He serves. Floats it in. Taken early. But again, signs of disarray amongst the Germans.
And the result inevitable. Rodolfo Sanchez putting it away. And the Germans on their knees. 2 more points for victory for the Cubans. Well, it was Berthold coming up on the right-hand side there that produced the unplayable smash. I tell you, if the World League graded out players for their inspirational ability, this guy would be in the top 10.
Yeah, he certainly would. We've seen him in 2 games now, and he's been great in both.
You get the feeling it's not the Germans' day.
They've got a tough season ahead of them as well, because in their group, quite apart from Cuba, they've got Holland and Canada. And Canada are no mugs. They've already shown that by beating Cuba.
So the Cubans would agree with that statement.
Canada, in fact, will be in Birmingham, England, in July this year, in 4-cornered competition, together with Poland and South Korea, who are also in the World League.
are some German resistance here in this third set. At least they're prepared to go down fighting. Now service, Leif Andersen.
Not a good serve there.
The Germans just never had control of that series.
Not really, and they're beginning to leave huge gaps. They're playing in a kind of a horseshoe formation, and this tends to leave gaps in the middle. And they're forcing forward, trying to win the points.
The Cubans serving for the match. They may have to wait. They're going to have to take it from the Germans. I don't think the Germans are going to give it to them. But there you see a 7-point deficit here in this third set. And the Germans making a change.
Delnitz coming off.
And Oliver Heitmann,
That's interesting.
veteran from Hamburg, coming in to see some action. He's seen very limited World League action so far, Heitmann.
Very late swap. Germans under pressure. Well, rather unattractive and inefficient spike. You know, watching this game, Nick, you do get the feeling that Germans haven't really lost belief in themselves. They're playing every point as if it's the last one.
That's right.
Indeed, it might be at this stage. But
I'll tell you, this fella, Heitmann, has come in and immediately won a couple of points.
Yeah. And of course, anybody who knows the vaguest bit about sport at international level knows that any German team is competitive to the last.
But this could be the last rites as far as this game is concerned.
Could be.
Strong serve. There's trouble here for the Germans, regrouping rapidly.
Should have put that away. Mistake.
Well, and they've paid dearly for it. So Cuba complete a comprehensive victory. Just 2 nights ago they were beaten 3-2. There was no real doubt about this one. Orlando Samuels and his team simply far too strong for the outclassed Germans. They gave it their best shot. Their best shot on this occasion just simply